Hello dear viewers, today we are going to talk about energy level. When we talk about energy, the first thought that strikes our mind is, oh, the topic is about power or force. Well, that's true indeed. Today in this segment, we will talk about how atoms and electrons interact and dissociate according to the energy levels in them. Since we are talking in the context of life and living organisms, we now here will understand how atoms bond together through energy levels to form the molecules that make up living organisms, and we here pay special attention to their electrons. But before we begin, let me explain you briefly about protons, neutrons and electrons. Beginning with protons, protons is a subatomic particle denoted with symbol P or P+. One or more protons are present in the nucleus of an atom. The number of protons in the nucleus is referred as its atomic number. This number gives each element its unique identity. The word proton in Greek indicates first, and this name was given to hydrogen nucleus by Ernest Rutherford in 1920. Rutherford had discovered that the proton is a fundamental particle and a building block of nitrogen and all other heavier atomic nuclei. The mass of proton is slightly less than neutron and has positive electrical charge equal and opposite to that of an electron. Protons are not only present in the nuclei but also in the outside world. Since they have an electric charge, they can be accelerated by magnetic or electric fields. Next is neutrons. Neutrons are uncharged particles found within the atomic nuclei, referred as symbol N or N0. With no net electric charge and a mass slightly larger than that of a proton, neutrons were discovered by James Chadwick in 1932. The nucleus consists of Z protons, where Z is called as atomic number, and N, that is neutrons, where N is the neutron number. The atomic mass number A equals Z plus N. Protons and neutrons are collectively called as nucleons, each with mass approximately 1 atomic mass unit. Now it's electrons. Electron is the lightest stable subatomic particle and carries a negative charge, which is considered the basic unit of electric charge. Written as symbol E minus or beta minus, it is only 1 by 1840 the mass of a proton. An electron is therefore considered nearly massless in comparison with a proton or a neutron, and therefore electron mass is not included in calculating the mass of an atom. The electron was discovered in 1897 by the English physicist J. Thomson during investigations of cathode rays, and he initially called them as corpuscles. So, this was all about basics of protons, neutrons and electrons. Now, we will understand about different orbitals of an element. The number of electrons that an atom must acquire or lose either by sharing or by transfer to attain a filled outer shell is called as its valence. Electrons in an atom can exist only in certain discrete states called as orbitals, and there is a strict limit to the number of electrons that can be accommodated in an orbital of an electron shell. The interaction between two molecules totally depends upon the number of electrons present in the outermost orbit of an element or a molecule. The shell is actually the principal energy level orbit followed by the electron around atom's nucleus. The electron shells are labeled as K, L, M, N, O, P and Q, or you can also write them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Going from innermost shell towards the outwards, that is from atom's nucleus towards the outer direction, electrons in outer shells have higher energy and travel farther from nucleus than those electrons present in the inner shells. The electrons closest on the average to the positive nucleus are attracted most strongly and occupy the innermost, most tightly bound shell. This can hold maximum of 2 electrons. The second shell is farther away from the nucleus and its electrons are less tightly bound, holding up to 8 electrons. The third shell consists that are even less tightly bound and it can also hold up to 8 electrons. The fourth and fifth shells can hold up to 18 electrons each. Atoms with more than 4 shells are very rare in biological molecules. Hence, with certain exceptions in the larger atoms, the electrons of an atom fill the orbitals in an order, that is the first shell before the second shell before the third and so on. Each shell is composed of one or more subshells which are composed of atomic orbitals. The subshells are named as S, P, D and F, termed after principle of atomic spectral lines, that is sharp, principal, diffuse and fundamental respectively. The subshell can contain maximum 2, 6, 10 and 14 electrons respectively. The azimuthal quantum number, that is also denoted by L, of the subshells are 0, 1, 2 and 3. Theoretically, there are more subshells like G, H and I labeled as the continuation of F, but are not present in the naturally occurring elements. The electrons in one subshell have exactly the same level of energy, with later subshells having more energy per electron than earlier ones. For example, the first, that is the K shell, has one subshell called as 1s. The second, that is L shell, has 2 subshells called as 2s and 2p. The third shell has 3s, 3p and 3d. The fourth shell has 4s, 4p, 4d and 4f. The fifth shell has 5s, 5p, 5d and 5f. Now, before understanding the rules of configuration, let us have a brief outlook on shapes of orbitals. S orbitals have a spherical shell shape and only one s orbital exists for each principal quantum number, denoted by 1s, 2s and 3s. P orbitals are pairs of dumbbells aligned along the x, y and z axis at 90 degrees to each other. For each principal quantum number, there are 3 p orbitals from the second shell, denoted by 2p, 3p and 4p. There is no 1p because quantum rules do not allow this. If a p subshell is full, it holds a maximum of 3 into 2, that is equal to 6 electrons. D orbitals have complex shapes and their relative alignment is important in explaining the origin of the color in transition metal complex. For each principal quantum number, there are 5 d orbitals from third shell onwards, denoted by 3d, 4d and 5d. There are 1d or 2d quantum levels, as the quantum rule do not permit these rules. If a d subshell is full, it contains a maximum of 5 into 2 is equal to 10 electrons. The shape of f orbital is not relevant if the first is the 4f level and there are 7 orbitals holding a maximum of 7 into 2, that is 14 electrons if the subshell is full. Now, let us have a look at the n plus L energy ordering rule. The order in which these orbitals are filled is given by the n plus L rule, also known as the Medulung rule, given after scientist Erwin Medulung, or the Janet rule or the Kleczkowski rule after the scientist Charles Janet or Westwald Kleczkowski, or it is also called as the Diagonal rule. Here n represents the principal quantum number and L the azimuthal quantum number. The values of L are 0, 1, 2 and 3, which corresponds to the subshells S, P, D and F respectively. Orbitals with a lower n plus L value are filled before those with higher n plus L values. Now, let us understand the electronic configuration of atoms. The shells of an element are represented in squares and electrons are represented as up and down arrow. If the shell is completely filled, it will be shown as up and down arrow in a square, while if it is half filled, there will be only one arrow. Up and down arrow indicate positive and negative spin. The orbitals are present in the region in space where the electron revolve around the nucleus in an atom. The electronic configuration of an atom specifies the order in which the electrons fill up the orbitals in the periodic table. The order in which the electrons are filled up in the atomic orbitals are followed by three guidelines, or you can also call them as principles. These three principles are: first, the Aufbau or building up principle; second, Hund's rule; third, Pauli's exclusion principle. Beginning with Aufbau principle. This principle was given by scientists Niels Bohr and Wolfgang Pauli in the early 1920s. According to this principle, an electron always occupies the lowest energy orbital first before filling the higher level. The electron will always occupy 1s, which is lower energy, then 2s and then 3s, which is a higher energy orbital. For example, hydrogen has one electron and it enters the 1s orbital, which is the lowest energy. This principle states that the electron will go to the orbital first which has lower n plus L value, and if two orbitals have same n plus L value, then the orbital having lower n value will be occupied first. For example, silicon, whose atomic number is 14. So, 12 electrons will be accommodated in the orbitals 1s, 2s, 2p and 3s orbitals, while 2 electrons will be left for 3p and 4s. As both have same n plus L value, that is 3 plus 1 is equal to 4 and 4 plus 0 is equal to 4 respectively, in this case 3p orbital will be considered as n value of this orbital, that is 3 is lower than 4. Therefore, 13th and 14th electron will occupy 3p orbital first. So, formula of silicon is into bracket Ne, that is neon, 3s2 and 3p2, 2 representing the number of electron in the respective orbits. The second is Hund's rule. This was given by German physicist Friedrich Hund around 1927. Electron pairing happens only after all the available degenerate orbitals are occupied by one electron each. For example, take oxygen with atomic number 8. Here, 2 electron will occupy 1s orbital of k shell, 3rd and 4th electron will occupy 2s of L shell, and 5th and 6th and 7th electron will go to 2px, 2py and 2pz. Instead of pairing up, since they are degenerate orbitals of M shell, the last 8th electron can go to any shell X, Y or Z to pair up. So, the configuration will be 1s1, 2s2, 2px2, 2py1 and 2pz1. And now the last one is Pauli's exclusion principle. This principle was formulated by Austrian physicist Wolfgang Pauli in 1925. It states, no two electrons will have same quantum number. That is, two electrons can never have same n, l, s or m values. So, single orbital can have only two electrons. For example, helium atom. It has two electrons which occupy the lowest energy, that is 1s, states by acquiring opposite spin. The two electrons are in different quantum states due to the opposite charges and hence they do not violate the Pauli's principle. While in lithium atom, the third electron must go to 2s as 1s cannot accommodate more than 2 electrons. Hence, larger elements have shells of higher energy as the property of an element depends upon the number of electrons present in the outermost shell. Now we will perceive how atoms present in the living system interacts. Protons and neutrons are fixed tightly to one another in the nucleus and change partners only under extreme conditions like radioactive decay or in the interior of the sun or of a nuclear reactor. In living tissues, it is only the electrons of an atom that undergo rearrangements. They form the exterior of an atom and the electrons in the valence orbitals, the atoms combine with other atoms of one element, combine with atoms of other elements to form molecules. Rough exchange of electrons are in continuous motion around the nucleus. The electron arrangement of an atom is most stable when all the electrons are most tightly bound in the innermost shells. An atom whose outermost shell is entirely filled with electrons is especially stable and therefore chemically unreactive. Examples are helium with 2 electrons, neon with 2 plus 8 electrons and argon with 2 plus 8 plus 8 electrons. These all are inert gases. Hydrogen by contrast is with only 1 electron and therefore only a half filled shell is highly reactive. Likewise, the other atoms found in living tissues all have incomplete outer electron shells and are therefore able to donate, accept or share electrons with each other to form both molecules and ions. An unfilled electron shell is less stable than a filled one. Atoms with incomplete outer shells have strong tendency to interact with other atoms in a way that causes them to either gain or lose enough electrons to achieve a completed outermost shell. This electron exchange can be achieved either by transferring electrons from one atom to another or by sharing the electrons between two atoms. Through this, two types of chemical bonds between the atoms are formed, like an ionic bond, which is formed when electrons are donated by one atom to another, and covalent bond, which is formed when two atoms share a pair of electrons. When pair of electrons is shared unequally with the partial transfer between the atoms, it results into a polar covalent bond. A hydrogen atom needs only one more electron to fill its shell. Generally acquires it by electron sharing, forming a covalent bond with another atom. In many cases, this bond is polar. The other most common elements in the living cells are carbon, nitrogen and oxygen, with an incomplete second shell, and phosphorus and sulfur with an incomplete third shell. Generally, these elements share electrons and achieve a filled outer shell of 8 electrons by forming several covalent bonds. The outer electron shell plays a crucial role in determining the chemical properties of an element. When the elements are listed in order of atomic number, there is a periodic reoccurrence of elements with similar properties. An element with an incomplete second shell of 1 electron will behave in the same way as an element that has filled its second shell and has an incomplete third shell containing 1 electron. Like for example, the metals have incomplete outer shells with just 1 or few electrons, whereas the inert gases have full outer shells. Summary: in this segment, we learned about how the energy is generated through the energy levels of the chemical elements present in our biological system. We began this segment by briefing of protons, neutrons and electrons, and understood about the different orbitals, shells and subshells of elements and the maximum number of electrons that a shell can accommodate. We also learned that the electronic configuration is dependent upon the 3 main principles, that is Aufbau principle, Hund's rule and Pauli's exclusion principle. And finally, the importance of these principles for the exchange of atoms of molecules in the living system and rendering the metabolic activities are discussed. So, this was all about today's topic. Hope you have learnt well. Thank you.